Fox 8, this is breaking news.
So what we're believing now, based on the current forecast, is that this event will be more severe and of longer duration. But there is no need for panic.
Louisiana faces a threat not seen since the late 1980s. The governor's message to the public over the saltwater wedge and the state's plan to address the potential crisis. Good afternoon. I'm Lauren McCoy.
And I'm Meg Gatto. Governor John Bel Edwards laying out the timeline for people to expect saltwater to reach their communities. Take a look at this map. Now, if you follow the red line, it tracks the wedge's progress and where it is in relation to water intakes in Belle Chase, St. Bernard, and beyond. Governor Edwards says Belle Chase is next to feel the impact of the salt water, and it could reach the Carrollton Gauge in New Orleans by October 28th.
Our Ashland Brothers is live at the convention center where state and parish leaders are providing an update on the saltwater wedge. Ashland.
Yeah, guys, those state and parish officials are inside right now, currently addressing the media, giving us more information and answering our questions as people do, despite what Governor Edwards said, panic. Now, we have been given a timeline, and when we look at that timeline, like you said, Belle Chase is coming up next. That's going to be October 13th, and Governor Edwards says we are going to see historic lows for the Mississippi over the next several weeks, and we'll be asking for emergency declaration from the federal government to take emergency protection precautions and get some reimbursements. Now, he said that what we really need is rain in the Ohio River Valley. Just before speaking with us, the governor held a modified command group meeting. Now, the governor's office is launching a website with centralized information about how local water systems are being impacted. The saltwater wedge jumped the sand sill built at the bottom of Wednesday, and starting Sunday, the Army Corps is working to add another 25 feet to the sill, which will take about 24 days, and they say will delay the progression of saltwater wedge by an estimated 15 days. Now, let's take a look at what Governor Edwards had to say.
Based off the updated projections and using the conservative estimate that the surface salinity levels exist approximately 15 miles downriver from the toe, we see the potential of the water with the chloride levels at or above 250 parts per million reaching the Belle Chase facilities located at River Mile 75.5 on or about the 13th of October. Then heading up to Delcor Station at River Mile 80.9 on or about.
Now, parish and state officials say that they will continue to bus in fresh water for communities that need it. And again, we've got all of those dates. We've got St. Bernard facility October 19th, Algiers October 22nd, Gretna October 24th, Carrollton the 28th, and East Jefferson the 29th. We'll continue to keep you updated as we learn any new information, and you'll hear from Maddie Kurth at 4:30. Reporting live in New Orleans, Ashland Brothers, Fox 8, Local First.